It started quietly, almost as background noise in political corridors, whispered in tones too cautious to reach microphones. A notion so far-fetched that even veteran observers laughed it off. Yet tonight in Edmonton, Alberta's capital, the atmosphere feels raw, charged, unsettled, and on the edge of something historic. Premier Danielle Smith has just slipped out of a late-night cabinet session. Cameras were dodged, questions unanswered. Her face gave nothing away. From Ottawa, silence. And in Washington, reports swirl that President Donald Trump has been personally in touch with Alberta's inner circle. The topic of those conversations, if they are real, could redraw North America's borders. For over 100 years, Alberta has been a cornerstone of Canada, its petroleum fueling the national economy, its farms filling grocery shelves, its rugged independence woven into the national story. But tonight, for the first time in living memory, mainstream voices are openly asking whether Alberta might break away and whether U.S. statehood is no longer an impossible dream, but an option on the table. Why this moment? And why does it suddenly feel different? Prime Minister Mark Carney, pressed for answers, has issued only a brief statement. He called Alberta's recent steps alarming and dangerous for national unity. He declined questions. That reticence, rather than calming fears, has stoked them. Insiders say his government is scrambling behind the curtain, working phones with allies abroad to insist Canada's stability is intact. Still, many sense a fracture line running deeper by the day. On the American side, Trump's team is equally opaque. No official declaration. No statement from the White House. But respected congressional voices have dropped suggestive remarks online, alluding to fresh horizons and new opportunities up north. Each cryptic comment has fueled the perception that something profound is taking shape out of sight. This moment didn't erupt overnight. For years, Alberta has chafed under what many here view as Ottawa's heavy hand, environmental restrictions, export caps, tax regime seen as draining the province's prosperity to benefit central Canada. The recent legislation curbing oil exports, hailed in some quarters as essential for the climate, is regarded in Edmonton as an economic chokehold. Premier Smith has repeatedly charged that the federal government is sacrificing Alberta to global environmental agendas. Then came the spark. The Alberta legislature passed a sovereignty resolution, asserting the province's control over its resources and economic destiny. Legal scholars dismissed it as symbolic, but politically it detonated like dynamite. It gave permission for conversations that had long been taboo. Sources now claim that for weeks, a small Alberta delegation has been in quiet contact with U.S. counterparts. Economic cooperation, infrastructure deals, even the idea of statehood, all allegedly broached. Nothing signed, nothing confirmed, but the whispers are growing louder because the principals refuse to answer. Danielle Smith is stone silent. Mark Carney refuses specifics. Donald Trump, famous for public bombast, has not tweeted or spoken on the matter at all. That collective silence has created a vacuum, one filled with rumor, speculation, and anxiety. Across Alberta, the uncertainty is suffocating. In office cafeterias, in coffee shops in Calgary and Edmonton, in quiet family kitchens from Lethbridge to Fort McMurray, conversations loop back to one question. Could this be real? For some, the thought of joining the U.S. is thrilling. They imagine unfettered access to American markets, freedom from Ottawa's perceived grip, and the promise, if Trump were truly invested, of instant investment in highways, pipelines, and energy grids. They point to the American dollar, to lower taxes, to closer cultural alignment with conservative states south of the border. Others recoil. The loss of Canadian identity, the plunge into American political chaos, the probability of long, bitter constitutional struggles all loom as grave risks. Many warn that Alberta could leap into the unknown only to regret it. Meanwhile, global markets are responding even without official confirmation. The Canadian dollar dipped on early rumors. Oil futures climbed sharply, traders betting that political turmoil might disrupt Canadian supply lines. Multinationals are calling for clarity, but clarity is exactly what's missing. There has been no referendum, no signed proclamation, no formal declaration of secession. Yet the careful phrasing of recent political statements, vague but loaded, suggests doors are quietly being tested. Diplomats whisper about contingency planning. Ottawa's allies are pressing for reassurance. But unease runs through every conversation. If Alberta seriously presses this course, other provinces with grievances could be emboldened. The precedent would be seismic. Inside Alberta's cabinet, unity is fragile. Some ministers urge exploration of every possibility, including the overtures from Washington. Others are warning privately that pushing too far risks a federal clampdown, even legal or financial retaliation from Ottawa. One senior aide described the atmosphere bluntly, half exhilaration, half terror. Across the U.S., a handful of governors, particularly from oil and gas states, have dropped public hints of welcome. They speak of partnership, of new bonds of energy independence. No official commitments, but their words carry weight. The clock is ticking. Carney faces mounting pressure to address the issue directly. Each passing hour without denial deepens the perception that Ottawa is losing control of the narrative. Opposition politicians are already accusing him of weakness, of sleepwalking toward a constitutional rupture. Danielle Smith, meanwhile, is in a perilous position. To supporters, she is the bold premier who finally stands up to Ottawa. To critics, she is recklessly steering Alberta toward a cliff. She must decide whether to lean into the speculation or publicly close the door. Either move is fraught with consequence. And in the White House, Trump's advisors are calculating. The president, a master of dramatic timing, may be waiting for the perfect moment to intervene. A single statement from him, whether confirming interest or dismissing the rumors, could send tremors across both nations. The coming days are critical. If the U.S. offer is real and Alberta is receptive, negotiations could accelerate at breakneck speed. If the rumors are bluff, a ploy to wrest concessions from Ottawa, then we may soon see furious denunciations from Carney's government and promises of constitutional defense. For now, the world holds its breath. Three figures stand at the center of this drama: Danielle Smith, the premier balancing defiance with risk; Mark Carney, the prime minister fighting to preserve a fragile national unity; and Donald Trump, the dealmaker whose involvement could tip the balance unpredictably. The stakes are nothing less than the future of Alberta and possibly the fate of Canada itself. The next statement, the next move, could come at any moment. And when it does, it may set into motion a realignment that historians will debate for generations. Stay alert. Events are moving fast, and what unfolds in Alberta over the next hours could redefine the continent.